42 days and 42 years. My name's Tate Hill and I'm sharing my life with you. So, age 11, um, a lot of times when I played hockey, through even younger age, every time there was a fight that went on the rink involving me, somebody get mad at me and they come start beating me. Um, I never ever defended myself. I'd always sit there and just laugh at them as they kept hitting me. Yeah, go on, keep it up. Yeah, come on, hit harder, hit harder. And I wouldn't do nothing. I just stand there. Like, I never ever got a penalty in probably the 4 or 5 years that I played hockey. And I was always the most improved player. I got more assists than anybody because I was the fastest skater that could go across the rink and shoot it up. But the reason why I'm saying that is because the 11th year I had a couple of fights. My foster dad told me as I was getting older, he says, Tate, you got to learn to defend yourself. You can't just let people pound on you like that. So I said, okay. So one day when we were going to school, these two new bullies moved in town. They were brothers. One was in high school, the other one was in the public school with me. And he'd go around. I don't know much of what his brother did because I wasn't in the high school, but I sure know that they were both troublemakers. And he'd go around telling people, give me your cookies, give me your lunch, get off the swing set, I'm going on it, or whatever, and just shoving people around and taking things that don't belong to them. And so one day he came to me and says, give me this, give me that, whatever that I had. And I'm like, I looked at Buddy and said, I don't think so. He came towards me to attack me, so I grabbed him, I put him in a headlock, and I dropped him to the ground. I put my 2 fingers into his eyes like this and pushing in towards the eyes and said, if you ever come to attack me again, and if I ever see you bully anybody in this school again, I am gonna literally make you blind, that you will never see again, so you won't be able to go and hurt people. And then he told his brother, and his brother and him came stalking me on the way home, chasing me, which I'm a fast runner, so they couldn't really catch up to me. But my brother's best friend saw him chasing me, so he immediately ran over towards him and jumped him and dropped him on the ground. Said, what are you going chasing little kids for? And he started beating him, and Buddy ripped his gold chain off my brother's friend's neck. And at the end, Buddy walked away, and I was there watching the fight, and his little brother's getting in, trying to help his big brother on Buddy and everything too. And at the end, they lost. And I thanked my brother's friend for helping me. And he says, anytime, he goes, that guy's like way bigger than you. There's no reason for him to come and start a fight with you. And I told him what happened at school with the other guy, and that's why he came chasing me. And he's like, either way, it ain't gonna happen. And so pretty much both of them, they stopped bullying in the town. They were new. You come into a little town, you're not gonna survive if you're a bully or something like that in a little town. Maybe in a city you can, but not when you hit a town. So we sort of socialized a little bit, me and the guy that I put in the headlock at school, and he didn't bully people anymore, and he was more nice. And we know he had problems and stuff too, and so did I, but I didn't ever make it into screwing other people's lives because my own life was pretty well screwed. But another guy also tried to bully attack me one time, and I did the same thing to him too, and he never came after me again. And my foster sister that year came out with a knife one day at lunchtime when I went home for lunch, and I was going to head back to school soon. And I can't remember what it was, something to do with her parents or something, like she just didn't like me, she didn't want me around, she wanted me dead. And she pulled a knife out and started threatening to kill me. So I ran around the house as she was chasing me and ran outside the door. And Tramp, we had a dog named Tramp, and he started barking at her and followed me to school and wouldn't leave. He just kept barking at the door wanting to be with me. And so my foster mother came to get him, and we asked why he's at school with me and this and that. And I said, because Trisha went to kill me and attack me with a knife, and he protected me. And she said, no way, Trish wouldn't do that and all this. I said, yeah, she did. And nothing ever got done about that. I was also, sometimes I would pull knives and run away. My foster parents, as they would suffocate me or do restraints and do things to me a lot, so I would get scared of them, and sometimes I would grab a knife and I would say, stay away from me, and I'd run away and then drop the knife and take off. And so I guess maybe that's where she got the knife part from too, and did that. Like, you ever go to threaten my parents again, I'll friggin' kill ya, I'll kill ya. And you know, I was just trying to keep myself safe, because you know, a lot of things that they did to me wasn't right. You know, if I get upset or something and I'm screaming, just because I'm screaming, they'll come over and they'll both jump on my back and put their knee on my neck too, and they would put their hands around my mouth, and I couldn't breathe or nothing, and almost suffocated many times. And so, you know, I would be scared. So when they would get mad and they were coming at me, they're big people, they're adults, that I would be scared, and I'd pull a knife and say, stay away from me. I never used the knife, I never pointed it at anybody. I just grabbed it and said, stay away, and then I'd run. And so, yeah, my sister did that to me when I was 11 years old. And I didn't tell you much when I was younger, but my foster parents, since I moved in with them, they had 2 German Shepherd dogs. And one passed when I was 7, and the other dog was named Lady, and she was getting old. And one day in Erin, a dog named Spike followed my foster sisters home, and we found the owners the next day, and they came and talked with us and saw the family of so many kids. And she says, if you guys want the dog, you can have the dog. We don't have the time for the dog. So Tramp was my best friend. I loved playing ball. He was just a puppy, a year old. We changed his name to Tramp for Lady and the Tramp. And I'd walk him all the time. Like, me and Tramp were just best friends. Tramp liked me more than anybody in the family, because I was the youngest and the most playful one. So yeah, so it wasn't the best year. I got into indoor soccer, and I became an amazing player. I was the best indoor soccer player. I was very good at passing to myself using the wall, and I was more or less like the captain and the coach. I'd tell my coach what to do. She didn't know what to do. She was just a volunteer so we could be a team. And so I'd always tell her, put these guys together, put this guy with me and this, and we never lost a game. We won every single game, and I scored more goals than anybody. There was one other guy that was just as good player indoor soccer as me, and we were the 2 best, and I always wanted him to play with me. And so I had a good player to pass to always score. He'd pass to me. And so, yeah. And what else can I think of age 11? I remember I bought a knife from an army store across the road from my school. And I used to play with it in the backyard, and then I buried it, left it in the backyard. I didn't want to get caught with the knife that I bought, but I just sat outside digging holes and playing with it and stuff, and then I buried it. Once in a while I would go in my foster mother's purse, and I would take some money, so I'd go out and buy the knife or buy toys for myself. See, everything that they ever gave me, they barely ever spent and gave us anything, but everything that they did give us, they took back. I also had gifts that were mailed to us, Timex watches, or they were Rolex, like maybe a $300 Rolex. I remember they told me that those watches are expensive watches, like you're not wearing that to school. So I never got to wear my watch once, and it disappeared. I never ended up being given back my watch. They took it. Same with the gold ring. Somebody mailed us from our original family a gold rings, and those got taken and never seen them again. They disappeared. Doctor recommend for helping me sleep and for therapy and stuff for a water bed. So they bought us water beds, and they took those from us too. You know, like almost anything that was given to us, anything, even if they bought it. That year I saw a violin for sale at a store in Erin, and I thought it was a mini guitar, and I loved it and said, I want that, I want that. So they bought that for my birthday, and I went to lessons for it, but the teacher couldn't handle me. I was too hyper, and you know, I couldn't sit there and just play one chord for a long time. And so I didn't stay into the playing violin. That violin ended up gone, disappeared too. I never got to keep it. They just took it back and sold it or whatever. You know, almost every little gift that was ever given to me, anything that I owned, they wasn't mine. It was theirs. They'd take it. And so I was upset of things like that. So I'd often just go in the purse, take 20 bucks, and I'd go treat myself at the store and buy things and give myself toys. Like if you ever came in my bedroom, I had no toys. I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. My room was empty. If my room ever had anything, it was candy. I would go to stores and buy lots of chocolates and stuff in the stores and eat it all day. And then when dinner came, I couldn't eat. I was so full from junk food. And then they eventually caught on, like, that's not Tate, he's a big eater. And so they went in the room lifting up the carpets and stuff. I was hiding all the stuff underneath the carpets, lifting it up and throwing it under. So they went in and they found all the wrappers everywhere and everything, and I got in trouble. And then they called their friend cop, and he took me into a police station and started threatening me about charging me. You go to jail and this and that, and trying to scare me from doing it anymore. And I can remember running away from them one time, and I walked up to what's that town called by the Forks of the Credit, Bellefontaine, I think it's called, Bellefontaine. And so I ran away from there and went to Bellefontaine. And when I on my way down that road to go to Bellefontaine, a guy came up in a car, and it sort of looked like that cop, a little different though, shorter hair, you know, he had long hair. This guy was like same fit and everything, but blonde hair, and he had a case sitting in the passenger seat. And so when he drove up to me, he stops, he says, you need a ride? You need anything? And I looked inside and I saw the case and everything sitting there, and I said no, and I started walking on and just kept walking. So then as soon as I got to Bellefontaine, I stopped there and told them of a guy trying to kidnap me. Drove up and he had a case in the car, and I told him I ran away from home. And so they called my foster parents, and they came out and they picked me up. Yeah, a lot of bad things that year. It was definitely a crazy year for me. One thing I noticed of that age though is my seizures. I started noticing when I was gonna have a seizure. My feet, a tingle would start from my feet, and it would come all the way up and come up my body and go out my arms and then hit my head, almost like a tingle, you know, and your body kind of feels a little chill through it. So that chill would start on my feet and come up the legs, and you can literally feel it coming through the body all the way up, and then it hits the brain. And then once it hits the brain, I have about 1 minute, and then I'm gonna black out in a seizure. So that was kind of a good thing that I started realizing that. Usually when I had seizures, I'd always, like when I come out and they're like, "What's your name?" And that's how you find out when they're back again. When they can finally say, you're my mom, I'm Tate, that's Trisha, or whatever, and be able to answer everything. Because when you're still in the seizure and you're trying to see when you're back, um, I would always be wrong. Like, I don't know who you are. Who are you? And I don't know who I am. I'm Hulk Hogan or something. And so then I was able finally to realize when I was having a seizure, and which was very helpful in my future, which I'll explain that as I get a little older and explain my older age. But yeah, so it wasn't the greatest year, but I did meet a new friend. Somebody, his mother, um, bought a house across the road from us, and they had a swimming pool in the backyard. And he was like a wizard to video games. So he'd always give me codes and teach me tricks for Mario and all these games. And his mother used to work for Children's Aid. So she always invited me over and she treated me like gold. She made me so comfortable at her house. And like, honest to God, that would have been a great home for me. Wendy and Ron Ellis, their kids was not a home for me. We were not treated like we were their kids. And these people across the road were incredible. And she even says, I know what it's like being a foster kid. She says, I worked for foster care and I just can't do it no more. It's insane the way they treat you kids and what they do to you people and how much you guys are suffering. And so he became my best friend. He was my neighbor and best friend. So that was a good thing. I finally made a good friend in Aaron because I really didn't have any friends. And so yeah, that's pretty much age 11. And next year is when things start going downhill really bad, I'd say. And so anyways, I'll let you know about that tomorrow. And thanks for watching and have a great night. Bye.